Hmm. Yeah. Mhm.
Sir, what are we going to do today? Sir,
Good evening, sir.
Good. Okay. So, all right. I think everyone has joined. We can continue now. Okay. All right. So, in chemistry, we have completed the syllabus. In physics, we are left with only one chapter, that is sound. All right. So today we'll be starting with the chapter sound. And in bio, we are left with only one chapter, is improvement food resources. So either we have two more uh, one more class in this week. So either I think we can start with improvement in food resources, or we can start with, so let's see, improvement in food resources. All right. So why we are focusing on the food resources? As we know that population is ever growing, population is always increasing, and we need to feed everyone. But here in India, we are more focusing on the food resources. The reason being why we need to focus on the food resources, as we are an agro-based country where most of the GDP of the country comes from the agriculture. So most of the people, they are performing agriculture here. Also, one more thing, why we are aiming at the food resources is that India in the history, if you observe the history of India, we suffered a few famines, which were the situations when there were droughts, there was there were no food grains. Okay. Also, during starting from the independent, when India became independent, we did not have sufficient food grains to feed everyone. So that is why we are aiming in this chapter for the improvement in food resources. How we obtained food security, what were the situations before this, okay, and now how we are working towards more improvement in it. So initially, if we observe the India's independence from 1947, in 1947 we did not have enough food grains, so we were dependent on import. So we were importing the food grains at that time. And as you know, the people of India, they were mainly dependent on agriculture. So just after independence, India was not able to purchase these. People or the farmers, they were also very poor. Since before independence, they were paying taxes, they were doing a lot of things. So the people were not able to purchase these. Okay, so India needed to import to fulfill the needs, but still they were very costly to India, to the farmers. So it was a challenge for the country to become food sufficient. So the very first requirements how we started with this, our government of India, it made a lot of efforts to bring us to food sufficient. So first thing that was done was improvement in after 1947, our started to improve government improved agricultural system. So how government improved agricultural system? Government improved agricultural systems by providing scientific methods of agriculture. Government introduced high yielding variety of seeds, which we call as HYV seeds. Government improved on irrigation methods. So we started to develop the irrigation methods. Government started to build up the canals, started building bore wells, tube wells, construction of the tube wells. All these were important part for the irrigation methods. So this development was initiated by the government to help the farmers. Okay. Then different other methods were adopted so that farmers could cultivate, farmers could grow the wheat or grow the grains on their fields. Since we had the land, but we were not developing them. Okay. So using these methods, when the irrigation facilities were provided, when the farmers were provided with the high yielding variety of the seeds, when they were given scientific methods of agriculture, so we were able to obtain a food security that was during the year of 1970s. So this is the year of 1970s to 1980s. 1970 to 1980, these 10 decades, they are known as the year for the Green Revolution. We attained here Green Revolution. That means during this time, India became self-sufficient in food grains. Self-sufficient means we were able to grow the food grains. We were able to grow the food grains which were sufficient for all the people so that everyone can be fed inside the country. That was the Green Revolution. So India became self-sufficient in the food grains which we generally wheat. When I'm saying food grains, I generally mean here wheat. So wheat is called a Green Revolution. Remember, you can Google out the population of India in 1947 and the population of India in 1970 or the population of India now. Okay, so there you will find a vast difference of the population. In 1947, the population of India was very less. Okay, you can search for the population of India. Can you enter what was the population of India in 1947? Yes, so in 1947, the population of India was just around 340 million. This was the population, 340 million. In 1970, if you find out the census and observe the population in 1970, so in 1970, we had the population as It was 555 million in 1970. So there was almost a nearly double the growth of the population that has occurred. Then, if we observe the current population, what is the current population of India? Current population is 142.86 crores. So now the population of India is 1 billion. It's 1.4 billion. So now see, we are increasing on the population, but still we can see that we are not self-sufficient. Now we are able to feed everyone. Even if the consumption of the food resources has increased, still we are able to feed everyone. So how it is possible? It was possible. See, when we had the smaller population, we were not food sufficient. And now we have such a big population of India, but still we are food sufficient. Okay. As India maintains a buffer stock also, a buffer stock is a stock of the food grains which is kept in the country for harsh or adverse conditions. Like sometimes if there be famines or anything, or if there be a war or any such situation. Okay, so for to deal with such situation, India maintains a buffer stock also. So now we have become self-sufficient. That is, with the population of 1.42 billion, we are self-sufficient in the food grains. Okay. So this was brought about in 1970s with the Green Revolution. So Jitendra, what is Green Revolution?
Sir,
Hmm. What is Green Revolution?
sir, Green Revolution is a revolution that aims for improvement in crop.
Yeah. Who made this Green Revolution? Who was the leader of Green Revolution? Nikita? See, this is what happens when you don't pay attention in the classes. Nikita,
Yes, sir.
are you there, Nikita? Yeah. So, Nikita, what is Green Revolution?
Sir, Green Revolution is like, sir, the introduction of high yielding varieties.
That is Green Revolution.
Introduction of HYV.
Hmm.
That is how we achieve the Green Revolution. But what is Green Revolution?
Sir, may I?
Yes.
There was a scheme introduced to increase the staple foods in India like wheat, rice, etc.
This was not a scheme. First of all,
Sir, it
Green
was
Revolution, it was not a
modern
scheme.
way,
Revolution.
a revolution
Mhm.
in
A
modern way
revolution.
to increase the number of seeds to yield for one crop.
See, Green Revolution, it was a sudden increase in the production of wheat. A sudden increase in the production of wheat, which made India self-sufficient in food grains. India self-sufficient in wheat. Okay, so this situation we call it as. So this situation, when we find out the Green Revolution, that it was a situation or it was a sudden increase in the production of wheat grains that made India wheat. We have to write wheat. In this production of the wheat that made India self-sufficient in wheat. Okay. So earlier we were obtaining wheat from other countries. We were importing wheat to fulfill our needs, and now we become self-sufficient. That means we did not require to import any wheat. So this situation we call as Green Revolution. All right. So after Green Revolution, the next thing was white revolution. So white revolution, it also take place, white revolution or yellow revolution, both are there. First we study yellow revolution. So yellow revolution, it also started in the year 1970s only. So 1970 to 80, it was the same year where we attained the yellow revolution. Okay. So yellow revolution, it is the sudden increase in the production of oil seeds. Oil seeds means the mustard, sesame. Okay. So these oil seeds, their production increased, which we call as the yellow revolution. Then after that, we had white revolution. Okay, so what is white revolution? Anyone can guess?
Dairy products like milk.
Sir, sudden increase in production of milk.
Dairy products.
Sudden increase in production of
Dairy
milk.
products.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So how we obtained this production of milk? See, milk for the production of the green revolution, for green revolution and yellow revolution, we had HYV seeds, high yielding variety of the seeds. We had by the 1970s, government has provided with a good network of the canals, bore wells and tube wells. So irrigation facilities had improved. Government has also introduced fertilizers by then, which led to the increase of these products. Okay. Now for white revolution, the sudden increase in the production of milk. So how was this white revolution brought about? As for the white revolution, we cannot increase. Where do we get the seeds, or what are the things that were taken care for the white revolution?
So increase in number of cattle.
Increase in the number of cattle. Okay. See that increase in the number of cattle, you can't force people. Okay, or you can't give people cattle. Like okay, you take these cattle, and we ultimately it has to be kept by the farmer. So how this was done? First of all, we started with making of the cooperative societies. Okay. So a number of the cooperative societies were developed. Now, what was the work of the cooperative societies? How did they work? The role of the cooperative society was they used to collect the milk from the villages, from the village people, and sell it. Okay. So now those cooperative societies, they used to take up the milk, they used to sell it in the cities, and whatever the benefit was generated, that was shared between the people and those persons. So here, the people were the real owners of the cooperative societies. One of the such a cooperative society, which is one of the very oldest in India, that is still there, we call it Amul. Okay, so Amul is one of the cooperative societies. So a person in Rajasthan started with the district Anand. So there is a district called Anand where Amul started. Okay, the Anand, that is why this Amul, it is also called as Anand Milk Union Limited. So it was a cooperative society, a society of people who contributed their milk. So in district called Anand, which is near Mehsana in Gujarat, near Ahmedabad, so people collected their milk, and that milk was sent to the cities. Slowly the business developed. See, earlier there were cattle, people were keeping cattle, all right, but they were not getting profits from it. There were no financial income from it, as they could not sell it. Got it? People could not sell the milk, and that is why they were not gaining anything from it. All right. So this development of the cooperative societies it leads to the generation of the profits. And when the profits were generated, people got more and more interested and attracted towards the cooperative societies. Okay. And when you are gaining the profit, it motivated people to increase the number of cattle. All right. So first they increased the number of cattle, and once they increased the number of cattle, then they were provided with better quality of cattle. Okay. So better quality of cattle mean a cattle. When I say better quality of cattle, so with the better quality of cattle, I mean the one which provides lot of milk. The amount of milk that is produced, it should be high. Then secondly, lactation period. This is also very important for the cattle. The lactation period of the cattle. So the lactation period of the cattle you cannot increase, but obviously it depends on the type of the cattle that you are keeping. For example, Murrah, which is a breed from, which is a breed of cattle, buffalo, Murrah. So for buffalo, there are different breeds. So good quality breeds were brought in. Murrah is the breed which is generally kept in Haryana. Then for cow, the Gir, okay, Gir cow, which is again from India only. So these were some of the varieties of the cattle which provided a good quality milk, and they had a better lactation period. Lactation period is the period or the duration during which a cattle provides milk. As we know, the cattle doesn't provide milk throughout the year. Okay, so when the cattle gives birth to a calf, that is the time a cattle provides milk. Okay, and it continues to provide milk for a certain period of time. Then after that, it stops providing milk. Okay, when the after some time the cattle stops providing that milk, that means the lactation period ends. So we want those cattle which have a good lactation period. They should be providing milk for a long period of time. Okay. The time for which they do not provide the milk, they should be short, maybe about 2 months, 3 months. That is what we required. Whereas earlier it was like the cattle were giving milk for around 3 to 4 months, and they were not providing milk for the remaining 6 months of the year. Okay, so that is why better varieties of the cattle were brought about. Huh? Yeah, okay. Got it? Any doubts here?
No, sir.
No? With the any doubt, or is it clear?
No, sir. No doubt.
Okay. Now, to increase the production of wheat and other substances when the agriculture was done, so we were doing here intercropping, mixed cropping, crop rotation. These were some of the methods which were adopted by the farmers as the scientific methods of agriculture. For example, as you saw that we have written here, scientific methods, HYV seeds, and irrigation methods. So, what were the scientific methods of irrigation? But all right. So in the scientific methods, we learned about some technologies, like the scientific methods. They include intercropping, okay, mixed cropping, and crop rotation. So intercropping and mixed cropping, these both were the methods of cultivating or growing two crops in the same field at the same time. So what was it? Okay. So crop rotation. Crop rotation is the method of where we rotate the crop. Rotate the crop means when on the same field, you do not use the same crop for the whole year or repeatedly. You make in different crop seasons, you use different crops. And in that, you also include a season for leguminous plants. So for one season, if you are growing wheat and rice, so for the next season, you will be growing your leguminous crops. The growth of the leguminous crops, it fixes nitrogen into the soil. So when nitrogen is fixed by this by the plants in the soil, then the soil becomes again nutritive. It again becomes nutrient rich. Intercropping and mixed cropping, it helps the farmers in fighting with the uh, it helps the intercropping and mixed cropping. It helps the farmer in fighting with the risk of the crop failure. Okay, for example, if one of the crop fails, there may be due to pests or anything, so there are chances that the other crop will be safe. Okay, so intercropping and mixed cropping, these were the other methods which were being told to farmers. Apart from them, use of machinery in agriculture. This was also brought about in India. So all these methods, they led to the improvement of the food resources. So apart from the some other agriculture methods were also used. So what were some other methods of agriculture? Like people also started with apiculture. Efforts were also made with pisciculture. What is pisciculture? Yeah, Harshit, can you tell what is pisciculture?
So the rearing of the fish.
Yeah, rearing of the fishes. Okay, rearing of the fishes. It's called pisciculture. What is apiculture? A rearing of
Honeybee.
honeybee. Pisciculture, rearing of fishes. It's pisciculture. Right. What is sericulture?
The
The
rearing
student,
of
what is
silkworms.
yeah? A rearing of the silkworms is called as sericulture. So pisciculture, apiculture, and sericulture. All right. Regarding the pisciculture, you have another word which we call it blue revolution. Okay. So I think many of you would be able to guess what is blue revolution. Okay. Niharika, can you tell what is blue revolution?
Sir,
Yeah. Can you tell what is blue revolution?
blue revolution, sir.
Yeah.
Um,
What is blue revolution?
it's about increasing the production of fisheries and act.
Yeah, increasing the production of the fisheries that we call as
Yeah,
blue
and
revolution. Correct. Increase in the number of fishes.
yes, sir.
Okay. So silkworms. That's sericulture. You have another word since we are studying with all the animals they are rearing. You have a word called animal husbandry. animal husbandry, it is the method of rearing of animals, rearing and taking care of animals for our benefit. For our benefit, we call it as animal husbandry. So just like we did cattle rearing or cattle farming, we have apiculture, pisciculture, sericulture. Similarly, you have poultry farming. So in the poultry farming, there are two types of poultry farming. One is the poultry farming which we do for chick. The other one is for eggs. So these are the two types of the poultry farming we deal with. Now we'll see what are the different methods that we have gone through. Improvement in food resources. Right. So improvement in the crop yield, we did. So here you are given different types of the crops which are grown. So wheat, maize, paddy, gram, sunflower, all these are the different varieties of the food that we get. Crop variety improvement, we got GMO, genetically modified organisms. Okay. So like in the GMO, we obtained different types of the modified crops, which were much better than the previous one. They provided better agronomic characteristics. What are agronomic characteristics that we call? The crops, they had a better agronomic characteristics. When we say agronomic characteristics means the development of the stem, the length of the stem which should be there, that we call as the agronomic characteristic. For example, suppose we are growing the crop of paddy. Okay. And when we grow the crop of paddy or when we grow the crop of wheat, so if the height of that plant is larger, so that has no benefit to us. It's only utilizing the nutrient from the soil. So we require a plant which should grow to a medium height so that it should be able to provide the nutrient to the plant. That's enough. And it should produce more quantity of grains. Okay. Also, it should be more resistant to pests. Alright. So agronomic characteristics, they include the characteristics of height of a plant. The height of a plant we include as an agronomic characteristic. You see the different characteristics which were there. So what were the targets here? Higher yield, improved quality, biotic and abiotic resistance. Can anyone tell me what is biotic and abiotic resistance?
So resistance from bacteria, animals, etc. So,
Yeah, biotic resistance means resistance from bacteria, resistance from fungi, resistance from insects. Okay, so see, there are certain varieties were developed which were resistant to these organisms. That means they did not get much infected with them. So such varieties, they were called as biotic resistant. Abiotic resistance means those plants they could suffer abiotic higher abiotic conditions like droughts, salinity, waterlogging, heat, cold, frost. So they could suffer these conditions and still not be impacted from them. So such plants or such situations were called such plants were called abiotic resistant. Okay. Change in the maturity duration. So if you want the maximum output, okay, if you want the maximum output, you must change the duration. Okay, you must change the maturity duration of the plant. That means the duration which the plant is taking to become mature and to provide the food grains. So it should take a shorter duration of time. So we call it change in maturity duration. Then we have wider adaptability. We develop those food grains which have a better adaptability to the environment. They adapt to the environment very well. Then,
Sir, here it means that the plant can adjust itself to all conditions, even if there is less water like that.
Sampath, can you speak up again? Actually, your voice was not quite clear.
Sir, here wider adaptability under this only will get the amount of water consumed, everything will come under wider adaptability.
What comes under the wider adaptability?
Sir, the less water, like water shortage, less soil fertility, all will come under wider adaptability.
Again, your voice is not clear. I'm getting your voice to the full loudest, but your words are not clear.
Sir,
I don't know. It
it
is
is
Sir,
telling
under
that.
wider adaptability only do we get the divisions like water scarcity and soil fertility, everything.
no. It includes your soil factor also. It includes various temperatures. Various temperatures like the same plant can be grown to Punjab, the same plant can be grown to Uttar Pradesh, the same plant can be grown to Rajasthan. They have their different conditions. Some of the conditions they have their moderate temperatures. Somewhere you have an extreme temperature or extreme conditions. So we are trying to develop the plants which is wider adaptability. That means it can stabilize different under different environmental conditions.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So one variety can then be grown under different climatic conditions in different areas. Got it? So if you do not provide a wider adaptability, then you will not be able to grow the same crop everywhere. Then I discussed desirable agronomic characteristics. So just I discussed that the plant should have an appropriate height. The height of the plant should not grow too much or it should not be very less. These are the desirable agronomic characteristics. Also, how do biotic and abiotic factors affect the crop production? Can anyone tell
Sir, can you repeat?
what are hmm,
Sir, can you repeat?
biotic and abiotic factors? What are the biotic factors?
Sir, biotic factors are the factors where the plants are affected by various insects, bacteria, viruses, etc., and it may spoil the whole crop. Abiotic resistance provides resistance to hail, famine, and other conditions.
Yeah, very good. So biotic and abiotic factor. Biotic factor, they are the living beings which may affect the crop. For example, insects, bacteria, fungus, animals, birds, which may affect the crop. Okay, abiotic abiotic factors, they include climatic conditions, rainfall, temperatures, soil. These are the abiotic factors. Then crop production management.
Sir, did you
So here,
explain the maturity duration?
which one?
Sir, maturity duration.
Yeah, I explained the maturity duration. I told you that
Sir,
the
can you
crop
once again
duration.
explain?
Here, I think I. Okay, once more I'll explain here. Mm, Here somewhere I talked about the maturity duration. Okay. Maturity duration means the time that the crop takes for its complete development. So the crop should be taking a small amount of time for its complete development. Earlier, the crops which were taking about 6 months, they should be developed within a period. We try to develop them in a period of 4 months. We try to develop the varieties which could develop in a period of around 4 months. Okay, so such characteristics, they are the change in the maturity duration, so that you will be able to obtain more number of the crops. Okay. Then wider
Yes, sir.
adaptability. Wider adaptability we just discussed to different climatic conditions. Crop production management. So how to produce the crops, which crops to be produced, relation between inputs and yields, deciding the crop system and the cropping pattern which we include. So in that we have first as the nutrient management. The crop which we are growing, it should contain the proper amounts of the nutrient, the right amount of the nutrient which should be there. So as you have development of certain food which have led to a new markets, like which we see as a soybean. So soybean we have been using as a food material, right? Earlier we used soybean to produce oil. So the oil is produced and the waste that is left out from that, that waste was thrown away. Nowadays, that waste is not thrown away, that is being utilized as a food. It is highly rich in proteins. So whatever food we are producing, they should be sufficient in the nutrients. We'll talk of here the different nutrients which are there. You have the macronutrients and the micronutrients. Macronutrients are the nutrients which are required in major quantities. They are six in number. So there are six macronutrients, and there are some micronutrients which are iron, manganese, boron, zinc, copper. They are micronutrients. So micronutrients are the nutrients which are required in smaller quantities. Macronutrients are the nutrients which are required in larger quantities. So, any doubts up to whatever we have studied? Is there any doubt?
No, sir.
Okay. So, to fulfill the nutrients required by the crop, we made the arrangement for fertilizers. So, once we know that what nutrient is lacking in the soil, we supply that nutrient with the help of the different fertilizers. Since we know that fertilizers are the chemicals which are rich in a specific nutrient, they are required in very small quantities. So these macronutrients, they could be used, or even the micronutrients generally used wherever our soil is deficient in. We make a soil test, and in the soil test whatever nutrients are less, these are supplied to the soil with the help of the fertilizers. Okay. Organic methods of farming were also developed, like development of the compost and the vermicompost, green manure. So manures and fertilizers. Manures, these are these are prepared by the natural methods. It is prepared by the decomposition of animal excreta. So manure is a naturally occurring. It can be found in nature. It contains nutrients, but it is a mix up of all the nutrients. So it is not, manure is not nutrient specific. It contains large quantities of organic matter and supplies small quantities of the nutrients. So these are manures. They can be prepared from, as it said that it can be obtained from animal excreta and plant waste. So whatever plant waste was generated, animal excreta were generated, that was compost. It was collected over a period of time. So with the help of the earthworms and other organisms, it got converted into manures. Okay. So those manures, they were utilized, or they were helped, they were they were utilized for the growth of the plant. Here you have two types of the manures. You have green manure and the compost and vermicompost. So green manure is something like growth of some grasses. Some grasses are there which are first grown on the field. They are allowed to grow on the field, and when they grow, then before sowing the next crop, they are plowed. So when they are plowed, they form the manure of the soil. Alright. So okay, students, we'll see this chapter in our next class. We'll be completing this chapter in the next class. So in this week, we'll be completing this chapter, and in the next week, we'll be starting with the chapter of physics. Those are the only chapters which are there. Right. Okay, bye everyone.
Thank you, sir.